Hello, my name is Jenny Teeters. I am the author of Every Day is a New Day, a Story of Faith. I am an executive coach. I am a trainer. I'm also have a business where I help companies augment their enablement strategies and learning and development teams and many more things. But one of the things I'm here to do is to thank you so much for your time going through Ascend with me. So you are here probably because you're in a place of transition, and this is 100% for you. So I'll talk a little bit more about me again, other places that I wanted to start off introducing myself and thanking you so much for using some of your precious time, your most precious commodity to be with me today. All right, let's take a look at Ascend. All right, wonderful. So, how do you know if this is the webinar for you? Well, you're in the right spot if you've achieved career success, but you feel disconnected or stuck. I will also add here if you hear career success and you're not actually sure if you're successful, because of course you are. Of course you are successful. But when we don't know our strengths and we can't take a look at our accomplishments, our talent, the lives we've changed, the customers, the partners, those around us, there's probably a little bit of looking inside to do and seeing the impact we actually have. So, in both cases, yes, you're in the right place. If you're questioning whether to pivot, promote, or reinvent entirely, so we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on outside of us and within us that are those pivotal moments when we know it's time for a change. If you've lost some of your executive presence or self confidence, again, if you're somebody who's like, I'm not an executive because I don't have a chief or whatever, or VP or president kind of title, your title has nothing to do with your executive presence. It's again something that comes from within. So whether you've never felt you've had it or you had it and you've lost some of that confidence or how you're seeing yourself or how you're coming across, or even your energy is depleted due to burnout, any of those things, we're going to cover some of that today. Perhaps podcasts and books aren't heading it. So you're seeking what your next chapter is, what your next era might be, and you're really not sure which way to go. Let's find some clarity here. And you crave work that aligns with your purpose. So if you are waking up with, even before your mind wakes up, if you're waking up where your stomach is flooded with that feeling of dread, I've also heard the Sunday scaries, or you're just the days are going by where you just can't wait to get done with work, exhausted so that you can rest to start another day, looking forward to the weekend, and then the dread Sunday to start all over again. So that's no way to live. So if you're looking for work that more aligns with the higher goal, your purpose, or even finding your purpose, we're going to cover some of those things today as well. So let me introduce myself a little bit more and how we got here today. So I experienced what some people call hitting a rock bottom. So we all have our highs and our lows, but I hit, for me, the lowest low of all. And I have reinvented myself several times in my 50 plus years. But this was one that took me out emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every single way. So what happened from there is I had a chance to rebuild everything. I had an opportunity once I hit that bottom to go nowhere but up. And that opportunity to reset my entire life, my entire being, all my relationships gave me this fresh outlook to see how many years do I have left optimistically, maybe, I don't know, 30 to 50 if I live to 100. So what do I want to be doing? And was what I was doing with my vocation, in my relationships, how I was living, is that how I wanted to continue? You may not be in a place where you have such a dramatic spot, but we'll talk about what your triggers might be in just a moment. But what happened to me was then saw myself as the lowest of the low, this lowest caterpillar, maybe not even a caterpillar, but I was encased in this chrysalis. I had this rebuilding phase. And during this phase, I had mentors, I had allies, I had spiritual help, I had fellowship. I had so many people rooting for me, and I was rooting for me, and I was willing to do whatever it took to change. And what happened was I have emerged this beautiful butterfly. And I will tell you that the beauty I'm feeling is how I feel about myself on the inside. And I think when we feel that way about ourselves on the inside, our strengths and our purpose and who loves us, and we love ourselves, and we know our creator loves us, we just have a totally different outlook. And time being so precious, we think of back to time we've lost, and maybe we don't want to do that any longer. That was me. So as I've emerged as a beautiful butterfly on the inside, I decided to write my story about the rock bottom and about my transformation. I had the benefit of having a press agent help me get on a couple of podcasts and a couple of TV interviews to spread the word about it. I achieved a couple of certifications to gain some skills and go in a direction that I wanted to go. So I've recently left a 30-year career in leadership in high-tech corporations in order to help other people who are in a state of reinvention. And what I've created is Ascend. And that is how you got here today. So for you, maybe you're not at rock bottom, but for you, think about where you are right now. And if you are in a moment, one of these moments before you're ready to ascend, one of the things that can be is external triggers. So if you are a business professional working in an organization that's going through potential layoffs, business isn't very good. So, no more travel, no more bonuses. The trajectory for your career doesn't look very positive. Perhaps there's, I don't know, in your relationships, there's something that can't be reconciled in a relationship, and that's taking place. So usually there's, not usually, but there can be some kind of external force that's taking place that is causing, to internally want to make a pivot or make a change. You could have internal friction, and that internal friction, our bodies know when we're not in the right spot. That is that giving more and more effort, thinking we can power through without energy and without positive energy. We are just, the days are passing, like I mentioned earlier, just passing one day to the next, hoping that the weekend comes pretty soon, and the weekend always being too short, as opposed to waking up any given morning excited about what we're going to be doing for the day. So that internal tug that it's time, and we know when it's time to grow, and we know when it's time to move on. And sometimes our bodies know that when we maybe sense a lot of stress. Yeah. So we know. So you might be one of those where your body's telling you, your mind's telling you, or external factors are forcing a change. And the third is what I think is lovely: identity shift in process. For me, for example, I was wearing a number of masks. I mean, mask upon mask upon mask, depending on who I was in front of. That is who I was going to be. I was going to be whoever someone wanted me to be, with a lot of people pleasing coping mechanisms behind that. So maybe there's an entire identity shift. And what is so amazing about our identity is that we get to decide who we want to be, our actions, our beliefs, our thoughts. We keep thinking thoughts over and over again. They become beliefs, and they cause us to behave in a different way. And so we can decide in our minds what we want to put in, and we can delete from our algorithm things that are no longer serving us. And we'll go through a process for that today. So this is how you may know some clues that you are ready to ascend. Okay, here is a super, super fun way to talk about transformation. And this, the hero's journey, comes from Joseph Campbell, and he was fascinated, absolutely fascinated with this journey. And so he studied, essentially, think of any fairy tale, all of mythology. He studied so many human stories, and came to believe, and then articulated this particular cycle that we go through called the hero's journey. Many companies go through this journey. Any movie that we love, and the creator of Star Wars loved it so much, that's how that's how some of these movies have this process. But this is the human story. We all are in some part of this process at any given moment. And so when we are talking about reinvention, we are really feeling this call to adventure, which I think is very exciting. So look at the sphere here in our normal world that we're in. And there's a line towards the top of the hemisphere, and that's the normal world. So we're like, going about our day, and we're feeling this tug. We're feeling this call. We're feeling this moment of pivot coming along. Here's what happens if we try to stay there too long. We can't ignore the call. The call is going to get louder. The next step here you see is meeting a mentor, because we all have, it's called different things, an inner roommate, our inner critic, Part X, the voice of judgment, many different names for this part of us that really enjoys us in our comfort zone and keeping small, not amplifying our gifts, not growing, not learning, not expressing. A lot of fear around this, a lot of isolation. Having a mentor, an ally, a spiritual director, a friend, being a part of a mastermind, part of a group, part of a team. These are all very important to help us, to help with some courage and not be alone. Like, we are human. We are not meant to be alone. We are meant for connectedness. So that's a really important part of answering the call to adventure, is really being with others on this process. Okay, because with other people, we can get a little bit more courageous, and we're going to go from the normal world down into the second part of the hemisphere, into the unknown. And that is crossing the threshold. And Joseph Campbell has another really great quote. It is, "The treasure that you seek is in the cave that you fear to enter," something like that. So imagine whatever obstacle is holding you back. It's probably fear related, and it's holding you back from the treasure. We all love gifts and treasure, learning, winning. So I just encourage you to listen clearly to this. Don't do this alone. Don't transform alone. I mean, you're going to do the work, but to have an ally is just wonderful. All right. So then what happens? Well, then we learn. And a lot of what holds us back of going into that unknown is perfectionism, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection. What will people think? So these are all imagined. These are imagined outcomes that steal our peace, and they steal our growth. So I suggest, once again, find an ally. And then what happens then is we gain new skills. Then we slay the dragon, we transform, we get the prize, we change, we're the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the butterfly, and then we return to the normal world. And in the hero's journey, we all go back, the hero goes back and then kind of tells everyone about the, until the next call to action. So most Marvel movies and other movies, they end with like a hint of, there's another bad guy on the scene, there's another question out there. That's for us too. We're always going to be in this cycle. So I kind of think about where you are now. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to give you a tool. I mentioned before that identity is something we can change, absolutely change. And one of the ways we can do that is using the tool of identity affirmation. So we decide what we want to think about and how we want to see ourselves. So we might see ourselves as a kitten, but we might actually be a lion. So I offer you as a tool this affirmation here for our session today. I choose bold action, authentic voice, and unshakable presence. This is my ascend moment. So I want you to think about change right now, like starting right now, not starting after you're done watching this. Like, you are changing right now. All right, now we're going to go through ascend. So ascend, there's an acronym, ascend. So there is a meaning behind each of the letters. We're going to go through that. A stands for align with authority. And for each acronym, I'm going to give you a blind spot, and then I'll give you a tool to kind of counter that and grow in these areas. So that's just how I've designed this for growth, but also a couple of things to look out for. So align with authority. I'm talking about your authority. Where are you an expert? And if you tell me I don't have any certifications, I never finished college, like, everybody has expertise. If you've been alive, you have a length of time that you've been doing certain things, and you have expertise. You have strengths. You are so unique. I love Gallup Strength Finders. If you have not taken that assessment, you can just buy the book on Amazon or another place. It has a little code in there. Not only will it tell you all your strengths of 34 different characteristics, it'll tell you, order them for you, but it will also tell you, what kinds of things you can be doing. So one of my strengths in my top 5 is learning. I love to learn. I love the process of learning. I love teaching. So here we are, like, I'm using one of my gifts right now. And that's why it feels so good for me. So I know I am an authority in this area because I've been doing this for most of my career. For you, think about your strengths and what authority you have. So here's your blind spot though. Thinking authority is something you can earn externally through approvals, titles, or overachievement. So we can learn, and we can get accolades, and we can get a good performance review from our boss, and we can have customers write us nice notes. But if all we see about ourselves is through the lens of what somebody else has taken the time to tell us about ourselves, it's incomplete, it's not enough, and we're so much more. And we get our confidence from knowing ourselves and knowing all these strengths. I mean, it's just such an amazing thing to celebrate. Here's my suggestion for you for aligning with your own authority, is to do a little bit of vision casting. My suggestion to you is to find some quiet time in a piece of paper or a tablet or a journal or a laptop. Just find some quiet time. And I want you to imagine a point in time 5 years from now. And in that time, from 5 years from now, I want you to imagine waking up in the morning, and where would your ideal place be to wake up? What does your bed look like? What do the sheets feel like? What are you wearing? When your feet hit the floor, what kind of floor is that? Do you have slippers? Do you not have slippers? What are you having for breakfast? Go through every moment of the day. Who are you talking to? What's on the calendar? Where is your house located? What are you eating? Just throughout the entire day, like, what is your ideal life, your ideal day 5 years from now? So once you have that, then we want to map your values. So what values are required for you to be living in order to achieve that? That's just one way to kind of get you calibrated to your future, and even to do some daydreaming. We all have amazing imaginations. What a gift. So use that imagination to daydream your future vision of you and your surroundings and your vocation and your relationships and your body and your energy, all of the things. And then values. What do you need to value in order to meet those? Perhaps it's discipline, communication, kindness, love, relationships, learning would definitely be on mine. So think of those values, and just do a connection there. In your day job, you can do this as well. So in your day job, if you want to connect, let's say, a particular vision or strategy that your organization or your team's going through, then what are those values that are guiding your leadership? Like what kind of leader do you need to be to lead your team and yourself towards that? It's the exact same concept, but one is much more personal and futuristic for you internally, and the other is more like how you are embodying your leadership within your organization. All right. We're going to move on to the second one, which is the S in Ascend. This is strengthen your executive presence. So if you have followed what I have shared so far and investigated a little bit about your confidence, your strengths, see yourself as you actually are, you'll probably sit up a little taller. You'll probably have this physical presence that's a little bit different. So here's your blind spot when it comes to executive presence: is believing, the blind spot is believing executive presence is about image or being extroverted rather than an energetic alignment and self-assurance. So let's say you walk into a convention center. If you can, unless I'm using a business setting, like a big customer event or something, or think of a big restaurant or something along those lines, a meeting room where you don't know anyone, or a networking event. When you walk in the door, are you standing tall? Can you, with your chin up, make eye contact with every single person in the room? Can you, from where you are, just calmly pause and stand and look around? Or is it more like you're walking in kind of in a rush, a little hunched over, looking to make a beeline to a safe place to sit, a home base, to then kind of look around and make your next move, or who do I know? That's what I mean when I say executive presence. It's your confidence and your comfort level wherever you are in this any kind of space. So here's a little tool to help you self-assess that. And depending on your assessment, then you can begin to investigate some ways that you may want to grow in this area. So executive presence pulse check. So here's a scale. 5 is really strong and 1 needs attention. So assess your gravitas, assess your communication clarity. So when you are like, what are you non-verbally giving off, but also, are you clear in your speaking? Do you articulate? So there's many groups like Toastmasters that can really help with something like that. And your room presence. So your room presence, your comfort level. So you can see in the picture here, this gentleman, he's happy, he's quiet, he's a little sassy. So kind of assess that for yourself and do a self-assessment and find a trusted person maybe to help you out here. And if this is an area of growth for you, there are a lot of ways that you can begin to start, planning something and putting it on your calendar to actually move yourself forward in terms of your skills here. The C is communicate with influence. So here's our blind spot. Assuming more detail equals more impact, over explaining instead of strategically shaping your message. So I'm framing this one here in communication around communicating at work or communicating with a client or a business partner. When you are communicating, of course, interpersonally, I mean, there are degrees on interpersonal communication, mass communications, written communications, so many. But if you focus on your inner communication, this is a little aside. If you focus on your interpersonal communication skills, it will improve every relationship that you have from here to the end of your life. So if you're not on solid ground with really mutually understanding one another in your relationships, your listening skills, your acknowledgments, you're being able to, no matter what somebody is saying and how they're saying it, being able to keep your calm and really try to understand the point of view that somebody else is coming from. Those are amazing skills. So we're going to focus this next tool here, though, a little bit more like in the business setting, but I will just say as a side note here, communication is incredibly powerful and your number one tool for all relationships, like from here until the end. So you heard it here. All right. So that's your blind spot is, maybe thinking that more detail equals more impact. I'm going to suggest clarity. So let's say you are putting a business presentation together. Think of it like Christmas time and you're making a gingerbread house and you've got like all the candy, you've got the map, you've got the frosting, you have all of that. Another example, let's say you are scrapbooking. You've got all your little pieces of paper and your matting and the stickers and the note cards and the pens and the photos and the little tools to make the photos into circles. You have kind of all of your material out, but your end product is going to probably be one page. Your end product for your gingerbread house is going to be like one house. Your end product, maybe you're fishing and you've got all this tackle and you've got oh my gosh, so many different things that you use for fishing, lures and all of these things. You're going to have everything out there, but you're really going to have one pole. You're going to end up with like one thing to attract the fish, maybe one fish. So narrow down the message kind of. So it may take all of those things in the background. And when I say like over explaining in detail, so don't bring to the meeting where you're trying to influence with your communication, know the background, have ready in your backup slides, be prepared with the smart sheets and the data and all of the pages if something comes up, but just be very, very clear on who you're talking to, what do they care about, what do you want them to understand, and what do you want them to do? So a simple formula for this is called MVP, Message Clarity Formula. So make your message memorable, valuable, and punchy. So kind of like, can you narrow things down to like one main story, one main sentence, and one main result? So this is just a way to practice. And we are talking to people all the time. So we have an opportunity to share, to practice this, kind of narrowing down our message in any given day. So practice this if this is one of those things that you are wanting to work on. All right. Good. Next is E. The E in Ascend, elevate visibility and value. So here is our blind spot. So we're working along and we're thinking that our work alone is going to speak for itself. Like we're really hard workers, super productive, and our work product is excellent. And we think that that is going to be it. Can go unnoticed, like all of the hard work. So we're talking here about elevating your own visibility in your workplace and in the world. So here's a suggestion for you. Visibility strategy map. And actually, I'm going to go back and build here. I'm going to tell you a story here. This is a story of how I had some ideas and how I put them on paper and socialized them. And I ended up with a promotion. A friend ended up with a promotion, and we both built out teams. And each of those team members were making like six figures. So throughout sharing ideas, created six-figure jobs for other people, as well as helping my own family. So I was working for a company and I had noticed that in their organizational design, there were a couple of it was a fast growing company. And so they just hadn't yet built out a couple of teams that I thought were really critical. And therefore for partners, there were some services that were being missed opportunity for clarity and for loyalty and other things. So what I did is I mapped out what the three teams were that I wanted to suggest, what kind of work that they were going to be doing, and what the cost was right now of not having those teams. Like what was the current state and what was the cost going to be in the long term to continue that. I proposed these 3 teams. I proposed myself as the person to lead these 3 teams and to do the hiring and bring them on based on my experience in this space and having done this before. So my boss liked the idea a lot. I gave him the executive slides, kind of that MVP formula to, I had lots of backup slides, lots of data, lots of information, tons of info, but I kind of landed the plane for him and gave him what he needed to socialize at a higher executive level. So once that was signed off on, what happened to me was I received a promotion and I built out 2 of the teams. And these teams were global. So somebody in Spain got a job, somebody in Japan got a job, somebody in Singapore got a job, somebody in Kentucky in the US got a job, somebody in California got a job. So all of a sudden we had these new teams, and the one team that I didn't lead, a friend of mine, it fit more in her purview in the organization. And so she got a promotion and she started to build out a team. So we both benefited. And also everyone that we brought on board had these wonderful jobs at this great company. What if I had just not shared that? What if I had just said, I'm going to stay in my lane. This is not, really anything I'm supposed to do. I'll just do my job, log off. But when we have great ideas that can make improvements around us, put them on paper and share them. I urge you. Okay. So visibility strategy map. Here is another tool for you. And I'll say the idea is not that you go and leave this and use try all these things at once. Whatever is calling to you the most, do that one first. And I will give you these slides as a handout. So visibility strategy map, identify your top 3 internal stakeholders and 2 external visibility platforms. So if you want to elevate your visibility and your value, take your thought leadership, the ideas you have on what you're seeing around you, share those ideas with other people, share them within your organization, and also share them outside of that. So LinkedIn is an amazing, that's probably how you and I are connected. So videos, polls, podcasts, newsletters, just connecting with anyone, creating your own events, hosting a talk, so many different things you can do on LinkedIn, meeting people one-on-one, and just so many things you can do. And then there's also other panels and lots of committees that you can get on to share ideas and participate as well. So find your top 3 internal stakeholders who you want to elevate your visibility towards, and also 2 external platforms, and then create a plan of what would you like to share? What would be of value to them? What's coming up? Is there a strategic planning for the next fiscal year coming up? What's coming up where some things you notice you might be able to put into place, or at least suggest? You will become the person that is thought of when there's a new team, a new committee, a new opportunity. You'll be the person that's thought of when there's a merger acquisition to help be on the team, to kind of help out. You will definitely be noticed. So take advantage of this tool. Okay, great. The next one, N in Ascend, is navigate transitions powerfully. Our blind spot here, believing that change means instability or starting over rather than evolution into greater clarity. So we talked about external factors like our companies laying people off, or our financial security hits us right in our nervous system. It is like fight or flight. We're being kicked out of the tribe. We're going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or starved to death. These are things in the human being that are just part of our evolution. So financial security is really important. But I want to say that whatever skills we have when we pivot to a new job, to something within our organization, looking for something new, getting promoted, getting noticed, all of these things, you're not having to start over. You're taking everything that you've already done up to that point. And then as you're setting your sights on that new vision, on that something new, there might be new things to learn. There might be new things to build. And there are so many resources and people whose calling in life is to help you on your journey in so many different ways. You're going to find somebody who specializes in the one thing that you need help getting from A to B. I promise you that. It's so amazing. So you're not leaving anything, you can leave things behind if there's a bad habit, but you're taking all of that with you. And so I just want to offer you that this whole thought of starting over at 0, you're not starting over at 0. You're starting over with perspective, with wisdom, with strength, with experience, with an entire network of people who know you and would love to help you So that's just a mindset shift when we're in uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. None of us do. And we can live really one day at a time. So worrying about too much of the future steals our peace anyway. So here is the tool, Transition Confidence Builder. So begin to daydream and imagine that pivot. If whatever that next step is, if it's a career change, if it is a promotion, if it is you don't have anything now, at the moment, and you're going to be working on something new. Define your bridge story. So who are you and what do you have and what are you taking with you? What are you going to leave behind and what skills or knowledge might you need and who can help you get there? So that's going to bring us to our last one, which is around having some help. So deliver with impact. The blind spot here, in terms of delivering our work product, delivering our impact to the world, is mistaking busyness for productivity and chasing checkboxes instead of high leverage aligned action. So one of the coping mechanisms we can all have is procrastination. And we can get to the thing that's important just as soon as we do this non-important thing that is kind of keeping us in this avoidance state. So busyness is not necessarily the same as, taking advantage of all the moments in a day that we have. So there's lots of time management techniques to help time block, keep us focused on doing that thing that's really important. But the tool I want to share with you here is the 3x3 leadership action grid. So you know what your priorities are. Hopefully you've had some new things spark within you during our talk today. So what are 3 priorities that you can think of SMART goals here, 3 priorities within a 30-day period that you can start to tackle or move towards, or in the hero's journey, like what's your call to action? What are the 3 things you're going to do and slay or learn? But for those, who are your accountability anchors? Let's practice asking for help and asking for others to be allies with us and mentors and coaches and this accompaniment on our journey. So what are your priorities? What are the bold moves? And who is going to help you along the way? Love this one. Okay. So I've given you a lot of tools. Again, they're all suggestions to you. They're ascend suggestions. And depending on where you are, there's something that resonated with you here. So you now have the tools to align your authentic authority, your expertise, not performance or people pleasing. Strengthen your executive presence and own the room. You have the tools to communicate with clarity and influence and practice that, and also gauge where you're at. Elevate your business visibility or personal visibility and be seen as the leader that you are. That comes from within, and you have to find your strengths. I'm telling you, Strength Finders is amazing how we can see ourselves differently. Navigate change with confidence and purpose. So we're not falling behind. We're not losing. The sky is not falling. We are always moving forward. Life is always about growth and the best for us. So don't do that alone. And deliver bold, align action that drives impact. Okay, great. So how do our heroes in our books and our movies and our stories do all of this ascending? How do they go step by step by step all the way into where we cannot see the future and all the greatness that we all are deserving of? They do it one step at a time, of course, and they follow this path. So as I mentioned a couple times here, you don't have to do any of this alone. Whatever the pivot is, whatever the change is, you have a lot of resources. Just look around and see who is that accountability anchor for you. And people love to offer help. They love to give help, but if you don't ask, they can't be of service. So get your hopes up as you start your journey and go from what's known and comfortable and into where the treasure is living. All right, so we're going to close here. We're in the home stretch. We're going to land the plane. Identity affirmation. Once again, I choose bold action, authentic voice, and unshakable presence. This is my ascend moment. So after all of those tools and all of these examples, how many of us know what to do and don't do it? That would be all of us in many areas of our lives. This is because knowing is not enough. And that's why the podcasts and the books don't always cut it if we're not applying and trying out the things that we're learning just by listening to them or reading them. So knowing is not what motivates us to action. What motivates us to action oftentimes is pain, moving away from pain, but you don't need the pain of hitting a rock bottom or to have your stress and burnout be so bad that you have insomnia or finding unhealthy ways to cope. You don't have to get that far knowing what you know now. You can just start living your amazing life today. So the 3 ingredients that you do need for the transformation from your caterpillar to your chrysalis to your beautiful butterfly moment is the right support and the right system and the right accountability. So what to do and what do we need if we've tried on our own and we need a different approach? I suggest it rhymes with approach, coach. So someone to encourage our progress, kick us in the patootie when we don't honor our self-promises. And my offer to you for watching me all the way through this is I invite you to a complimentary session with me for 45 minutes, where you're going to share a little bit about wherever your current state is, where you're pivoting or where you want to move to, a little bit about what's holding you back. And I can, as a coach, my job is to draw those answers from you and help raise your awareness to, really what's deep inside, what's most important to you and where there's the most breakthrough that you need. And then I'll make a suggestion for a tool or a solution for you. And you're going to leave with an amazing aha. So this is not a high pressure. I'm not a high pressure sales kind of person. I don't like that. So I don't coach that way. If you want to work with me, we'll have that conversation if that moment comes. But first, it's a 45-minute transformation call just to see where you are, to really be heard and listened to, and then have an aha moment and have some confidence in what your next step is, even if it's deciding which Ascend tool to use. So your investment is just your investment in your precious time, which I greatly value and respect. So 45 minutes of your time, and I guarantee you will have an amazing result. So let me help you face excuses and ascend to whom you would like to become. And working with me, something that's a little different is it's more than information. We have unlimited information. We have AI, we have books, we have podcasts, we have so much content that people produce, the helpful tips. But if we're not actually finding out why things are really important, like underlying what's something really going to do for us, what we most desire, and also what's holding us back, and then knowing the next step and giving ourselves the appropriate amount of time to take step-by-step action and then being held accountable, it's very difficult, which is why we all make resolutions. And then by February, they are a distant memory. We need a plan, and we need someone to help us keep to the plan and the goals that we want. So a few testimonials about what my clients tell me. My clients love me. They tell me I'm part cheerleader, part tough love coach. So are you ready? My challenge to you is ask yourself, what needs to change? Why does it need to change now? And spend some time with me, and I will help get you started in the right direction. So it's been my great pleasure to share Ascend with you and all of these tools. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you. And I am praying for you and thinking about you, and take really good care.